What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stokastic here on the Odd Chapter channel, coming to you with my 3 favorite prize picks for Monday Night Football. Yes, we're talking the Rams visiting the 49ers in the NFC West battle. I'm looking forward to it. I bet you are too. And hey, hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell as we get going here. Goes a long way for me over on this video. Goes a long way for us here at the channel. But I want to make you guys some money, and we're coming off of a Sunday night W, 3 for 3. Thursday night, we had a W on that one, 3 for 3. And last Monday night, 3 for 3. That is 3 straight showdown 3 for 3s. Don't ask me about the Sunday main slate. I had 2 players that weren't in it. Forgot to upload a video. Doesn't matter. We are here on to Monday, and I want to make you guys some serious cash. We've been preaching correlation. We've been preaching a lot of different things that you can still do, just like your traditional DFS sites over at Prize Picks. We play player props over here, and you can get $100 first match deposit bonus by using promo code Stokastic right now. So definitely do that. Let's get to it, shall we? I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to rock. And yesterday, one of the beautiful things is I saw it being a shootout. He chose wisely. You guys probably don't know what that's from, but it's okay. I hope you do. Let me know in the comment section below if you love Raiders of the Lost Ark as much as I do, because it's the best. It's the absolute best. Actually, it's not even for, that's the quest for the Holy Grail. Regardless, we're here for an NFL video. I'm going to get to it. Boom. First one, tough Acton to Acton. Cooper Kupp, 93.5 receiving yards. Give me more than this. I get it. A lot of you might be box score watching through 3 weeks and saying, oh my God, the 49ers, they've been great against the pass. Oh, Eric, they're the number 1 team in terms of pass defense through the first couple games. Well, yeah, you know who they faced? The Bears in week 1 in the worst weather ever. Then Seattle, horrendous football team, regardless of whatever you saw yesterday in Detroit. Detroit doesn't even count for a defense. And then Denver with their inadequacies. We're talking about a really brutal 3 quarterback matchups. So are great if you're the defense there. This is Matt Stafford and this is Cooper Kupp. And I'm definitely bullish on one Cooper Kupp. How can you not be? If you're not, you're probably an insane person at this point in time. He's got a 33.3% red zone share, a 46.1% grouping of the air yards. And the most important thing to me, a 34.7% target share. When you're trying to rack up yards, you better be targeted. He's targeted at a higher clip than just about anybody in the league. Well, than anybody in the league. That's just a fact. So he had 15 consecutive games of more than 90 yards coming into last week's matchup. First time in forever that he did not exceed that number. So the streak ended there. He still got in the box with that rushing touchdown, whatever. Who cares? We're looking at 93.5 receiving yards. I think he goes way over it. Gets back to more of that usage that we saw in the first 2 weeks of the season. Let's just kind of fire Cooper Kupp up in all cylinders. Over 100 coming for one Cooper. Get ready to roll. I'm actually going to be pairing him with one of his teammates, and I didn't expect this coming into today, but it is what it is. Ben Skoranek. I want to get to more than 35.5 for the former Notre Dame grad. He stands out to me just as a guy who's more involved. I thought they were going to go kind of by committee with the absence of, well, Robert Woods left, and then Van Jefferson, who's going to be returning, it sounds like, after the bye week. But Ben Skoranek has been out on the field a lot. He's ran a route on 85% of Stafford's dropbacks so far this season. He's got a 12.9% target share, and that, for me, is enough with Matt Stafford in this pass-happy Rams offense to see more than 31.5 receiving yards. He's obviously correlated to his friend Cooper Kupp here. You could add, if you really wanted to, the passing yards prop for Matthew Stafford and kind of correlate all of those together. I think that makes a lot of sense on this kind of a slate to be grouping them together so that when that higher scoring outcome comes or the higher passing output comes for the Rams, you're getting paid on all 3 down the line, that being Stafford, Skoranek, and Kupp. So 31.5 receiving yards. We've got him projected right around that here at Stokastic today, but I'm very bullish on the opportunity that he's seeing. I do think that just the number of routes he's running, 85% is a large number for a third wide receiver in an offense. Give me more than that for him today. And the last guy, George Kittle. I want more than 43.5 receiving yards for him as well. And this is once again correlated to the two previous plays where if this game moves up and down the field a little bit more, and I don't think San Francisco's defense is going to be as good going forward. Obviously no Bosa, or I guess no, Bosa should be there. Nick Bosa is going to be out there. What am I talking about? I'm just basically thinking about, Nick Bosa is a freak. He's going to be out there on the edge, but that doesn't matter in terms of the offense here we're talking about. With George Kittle, we have a 1 week sample size on him, and he was out there being George Kittle, out there doing the dirty work. He's a phenomenal blocker. Iowa, basically tight end U, even if they're an abysmal school, go State. But George Kittle, 5 targets for 28 yards. I expect him to get
And we are live. Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock. It is Monday, October 3rd. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. We're going to talk a little bit about them in a bit. We're going to work our way through all of the important things for this slate. Top pitchers, top stacks. We're going to go position by position, take a look at everything. So be ready for it. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Once you get in the door, that should be the first thing that you do. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, a couple more days of this MLB season. Do you have anything? Are you watching anything interesting here? Do you care about any of the results? Do you just want Judge to be done with it all?
Yeah, I kind of don't really care anymore. The Orioles got their winning record, which made me happy. Obviously would have preferred they'd be in the postseason, but figured that wasn't going to happen. But it was nice to see them not completely implode. And, they got the winning record, which is awesome. One of the best year-over-year turnarounds. So that's cool. Other than that, I don't really care.
There we go. I have one quick question for you. It's about this slate, and it's unique to you because you can just simply look out your window. Is this Orioles game playing today?
It's cloudy, like everywhere.
Okay.
It's not raining right now.
When we looked at it earlier today, it seemed like a no-brainer, guaranteed. Like they're going to postpone this game early. So we didn't even really talk about it on the strategy show this morning because I figured if I'm going to have this show with you at 5:30, we're either going to have that game already postponed or you're going to have a much better idea of what the weather is going to be like for it. So I guess we'll treat it like it's going to exist, but keep your eyes peeled for it at the very least. I would have assumed.
I hadn't actually looked at the weather today and just now realizing that the Washington Mets game is in trouble too. So glad I had the Mets as my top stack in my tournament videos.
Fantastic. Way to prepare there, Adam. Just the best way to do this, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just use the top stack tool. There's not a weather column.
I think there is a weather column, isn't there? Is it not in that one?
It's in projections.
Okay. I was going to say, I think we actually do have that. Yeah, we'll just, I guess at this point, we'll treat it like we're getting pretty close to the point where they're at least bringing everybody to the stadium to try to play. Like,
yeah, if you're not right now, there would be no reason to cancel it. Like, it's not raining. It's just, it's kind of chilly and not nice out, but there would be no reason right now to not play a baseball game.
Right. Well, if you're going to postpone it, you don't let anybody get to the stadium in the first place. So at this point in time, I think that ship has sailed. So now we just have to, this is actually worse. Now you just have to pay attention.
Right.
All right. Well, that's where we're at right now. I wanted to get that quick look from you, since you have a very obvious and easy way to take a look and see how this is shaking out. For now, though, I guess we can just start breaking it down. This is live before lock, so we've got a little bit of a different setup here. I haven't even pulled up chat yet, which I say that like it's a bad thing, but it's definitely a good thing. Sorry, chat. Do love you, but it's easy to not notice. So I've got that pulled up now. We've got 170 people in here. Okay, just 26 likes. I did need to pull up chat. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. Let's talk right out of the gate, because we're doing this one live before lock style. We're going straight into top pitchers. When you look at our top pitchers tool, who do you see as the top option for today? To me, it seems pretty clear cut.
To me, it's Woodruff. I mean, he's obviously getting 41% ownership, the most on the slate, but reasonable price tag, 30.6% strikeout percentage is the highest on the slate, 3.1 xFIP, decent matchup against Arizona. I think that, and it's, again, we've seen this a lot on slates recently. Like, yeah, he's getting a lot of ownership, but most other guys that you would go to are getting ownership as well. I don't think that there's really comparable pitchers that are going overlooked here. So I think Woodruff is the top guy.
I would agree there. As we work our way down, because you're paying up for Woodruff, but that's just sort of where you need to be. Who do you see as sort of the best second option there? What's the most, basically, what is the preferred cash combination? Because I think that's the way that we would describe it.
Probably Musgrove and Woodruff. Musgrove at only 8,700, so it's probably either him or Kirby in addition to Woodruff.
Okay. Does he seem like a good play from a tournament perspective, properly owned? Anything interesting that you would want to point out, or just sort of he looks good?
Musgrove or Kirby?
Either way.
Both. They both look good. They were both in my tournament plays video, and the reason is just similar to Woodruff. It's not that they're going under-owned or that they're low-owned or anything. It's just that they, I think, are still going to show up a lot. In the crunch I ran a few hours ago before lineup started coming out, I was getting to those guys a lot, even in tournaments at their ownership. So they just look good. And, again, I don't think that there's a lot of pitching that isn't getting ownership that I really want to pivot to. So I think that they just look like good plays. Musgrove has about a 24.5% strikeout percentage this year. He's a good pitcher. Kirby facing the Tigers, who their active roster has the lowest WRC plus in baseball. Plenty of strikeouts in that lineup in Seattle. Just looks really good for those guys.
Do you see anything when you're looking through this? Like, I look at Severino. He's at 7% ownership. That was a bit higher when we did the show earlier today. I don't find him particularly viable as an option today, given the fact that he's 9,800. I don't know how deep he's going to be going in this game. You and I have had that conversation before. Do you like the idea of getting to Severino, who technically we have as under-owned?
I think it's kind of tough at that price. For one, he threw 76 pitches last time out, 64 the start before that. I would assume that he's giving you 5-ish innings here. But at 9,800, the problem is that, he's $800 more expensive than Kirby. He's $1,100 more expensive than Musgrove. He's $2,100 more expensive than Patrick Sandoval against Oakland, who we hadn't mentioned yet. So I think he's going under-owned, but I also just have a hard time thinking that he's any sort of real priority. I mentioned having run a crunch this morning before any of the lineups came out. I haven't updated it for lineups yet. I'm waiting for a couple more, but I didn't get to any Severino. I had him going, actually this morning I had him going a bit over-owned, but his ownership projection has come down since then. But yeah, it was just a difficult spot to get to.
Yeah, I guess we're on the same page there. If you're looking at it now, who else stands out? Because we have Woodruff pulling like 40% ownership, Kirby, Musgrove, and then you mentioned Patrick Sandoval, all pulling about the same ownership, right north of 30%. I think Sandoval looks fantastic there. I don't really have too much to add. Do you like anything below Sandoval? Do you have anything you want to add about Sandoval?
Nothing really to add about Sandoval. It's just a good spot. Oakland's not very good. Better pitcher's park than Anaheim is. 23.5% strikeout percentage against righties for Sandoval this year. So we're probably going to get a right-handed heavy Oakland lineup, but that's not too much of a concern. As far as pitchers that are priced below, Bailey Ober at 6,900, not getting much ownership, 91 pitches last time out. He's got solid strikeout stuff. It's a pretty, mediocre matchup against the White Sox, but I do think maybe he's going a little bit under-owned. That said, I didn't really get to much of him this morning. I had him going under-owned. I still only got like 2%, so pretty much in line with where we're projecting him. Jose Barrios, if the weather cooperates there at 6,200, it's kind of just the spot that we've been in with Barrios for a while now, where, it's like he hasn't been very good this year, but he's not a total, gas can pitcher either. And he's every year prior to this year been good. 6,200 is probably a little bit cheaper than he should be, but he's pulling, 12% ownership as well. So I got like 11% this morning. I think that's around where he should be if the weather cooperates.
One final question I have, or at least one final question here regarding pitching. How do you see the relationship between Aaron Nola and Lance McCullers? These guys are going against each other. They're separated by $100. Do you have any concerns with like McCullers' depth in this game? Obviously, Philly's going for it hardcore. Nola 11% owned. McCullers basically not owned. How do you see that one shaking out?
So they're both, I think, kind of just interesting tournament pitchers from an ownership standpoint because they're both so good. McCullers, his last time out, went 7 innings through 102 pitches. Houston obviously has it locked up, so I assume, he can go 6 innings or so. You just kind of, the way I'm treating the Houston pitchers is pretty much that you're not going to be shocked if they get lifted before you would like them to because, Houston kind of can just do whatever they feel like doing in terms of trying to keep their pitchers healthy for the postseason. Yeah. But, the fact that he did go 7 innings last time out is at least somewhat appealing. So that isn't a huge concern for me. It's more so that, again, he's expensive. He's even more expensive than Severino is. And the same goes for Nola on the other side. Really difficult matchup against Houston, and he's priced up. So while I think Nola is going under-owned, we have him with an 18% chance of being a top 2 pitcher at 11% ownership. This morning, I had him with about an 11% chance of being optimal. It's just still really difficult to get to him. I got to around 5%, and I'm fine with that. But at that price tag, you're just going to be giving up a lot, I think, to get there, and it's certainly not a matchup that I'm really looking to target.
Only other guy that I think is worth pointing out at this point, actually, I'm on the wrong tool. So pointing out a top stack during the top pitchers tool, probably not going to get me very far. We're seeing the negative leverage on Woodruff, on Musgrove, Kirby, Sandoval, but I think all those guys are fully warranted. We see relatively high positive leverage to Martin Perez. You mentioned Bailey Ober, your boy, Dean Kramer. Do you see anybody that's low owned that you're expecting to take a bit of a stand on?
No, not really. Seems like I'm mostly getting to chalkier, more popular pitching.
Yeah.
I got, and again, this is from this morning, but I got, like 6% Cueto, which is technically overweight, but not really worth mentioning. There's nobody that I'm like aggressively targeting that isn't getting ownership.
Yeah, it's, same on my side. Nobody that I'm really getting to that isn't already there. I got to 9% Cueto, but we're talking about the same sort of thing here. I want to hit on Jimmy's super chats quickly. First one was Seattle tanking on purpose? Question mark. Barrios, one good game, and then I followed up with not tanking, losing a game or two to alter opponent, going to miss MLB. Do you think the Mariners are manipulating the standings in any way today?
They're running a normal lineup out there, so I don't think so. Julio Rodriguez is back. I think that would be a very obvious spot to start if you didn't want to win games, would be not bringing back the guy that just came off the injury list and has been dealing with an injury for like a month now, and that you absolutely need in the postseason. So
I also wouldn't start George Kirby either.
Right, yeah. There at least you could say like maybe they just pull him at 4 innings. Like,
sure,
that's possible, I guess. But yeah, the fact that George Kirby's pitching, the fact that Rodriguez is in the lineup, Rodriguez being in the lineup is just the one that really stands out to me because I guess you could argue that you want him to get his timing before the postseason, but there are ways to work on that without if you really don't want to win this game, you're not playing fresh off the injured list Julio Rodriguez.
Also, you can only make so many changes to the lineup, but you're still putting out a better lineup than your opponent because the Tigers are ass.
Also true.
So, you can only do so much, and you might not even be able to offset it. So I assume they're just going to play the game, and, if they win, they win. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, and from like a DFS standpoint, if you wanted to really get into, their motivations here, the only thing it possibly affects is George Kirby. Because, there is, I guess, some chance that they're just like, yeah, cool. You got your 70 pitches in now, you're done. The hitters are not going to go up there and just like strike out on purpose or something.
Did you ever have a game like that?
What did you say?
Did you ever have a game like that where you were playing a team that was absolute ass, and like you tried to get out basically?
Jumping over home plate when you score for the 100th time.
Yeah,
batting.
I could picture one like that.
Yeah, batting left-handed. Yeah.
They're not doing any of that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not treating this like they're in Little League playoffs.
Right. That's the nice thing about baseball is, again, maybe I guess there could be some risk in Kirby, but from a hitting standpoint, that's the lineup. It's not like a basketball game where you have to worry about them just playing 6 minutes and not coming back. Like they're in.
Someone's got a bat.
Right. Exactly.
They might all go up there planting that back leg. Just I'm swinging for the moon here on everything,
which isn't even bad for
no, that could be totally fine. They can still make contact. John Bond also with the monstrous super chat said, thanks to the Stokastic team. See you on the NHL streets, Ship. You playing NHL this year, you think?
Probably. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't. It's always tough once basketball starts because NHL lineups take so long to build, and then also, for me, because I don't know anything about NHL, it's tough because ideally I would just build NHL lineups in the morning and then adjust for whatever scratches there are. But I'm not very good at adjusting because I don't know who these people are. So, and then if I'm going to wait to get more information, then it just ends up running into NBA. So it's tough. I'll probably try and play, but we'll see.
Yeah, it sort of probably depends on the NBA slate. Like to play NHL on an 11 gamer is probably a death sentence. You get some 3-game NBA slate, you could probably balance it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, really, it'll just come down. If I do it, I have to just build lineups early and then late swap. But
yeah, hire an assistant.
Yeah, they can decide what tournaments I play while they're at it.
Is there anything else that you see that we should touch on pitching wise? I don't really have much. The only thing that I can say for certain is don't play Tony Gonsolin.
Yeah, that's all I have pitching wise.
Okay. Well, schedule for the rest of the day, pretty simple. We do have 2 more shows coming up after this. NFL Deeper Dive will kick off at 6:30. And then the NFL Live Before Lock show will start at 7:30 or 7:40 or something like that. They'll take you all the way up until the NFL lock. We're going to go 2 straight hours basically for Monday Night Football. And we do that every single week. So make sure you're watching it. Free content for today. Since you guys are here, all 300 of you, and hit that like button, by the way, our projections are free for you today. So if you wanted to see what we had for MLB, if you haven't checked out our stuff before, hop behind the paywall for today, MLB projections. Oh, geez, remember when Jake would do MLB shows with Josh? Yeah, man, that's a long time ago at this point. Jake and I have not done a show in a very long time. And then Joe said, come on, Engleman, we need that NBA preseason show. Yeah, that would require me to watch a single second of the NBA preseason. That's not for me. That is not a product that I give a single shit about.
Nope.
That's not it's not real. It's not a real product. Do I think that I could be good at NBA preseason? Absolutely. It's not the kind of sport that I want to try to be good at.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked about it. We both enjoy not that aspect of DFS. I don't want to just I don't want to chase a million beat writers on Twitter and try and go back, the last 2 years to see what a coach's preseason tendency is. I think there's a lot of money to be made in preseason DFS. I personally do not want to put the time into it.
No, I don't want to do that kind of work.
Yeah, I just get no enjoyment out of it.
No, it's not. It's oh, cool. I got this guy that's not going to be on any NBA rosters minutes correct today, and he's the nuts.
Right.
Great. That dude's going to be in China in 3 weeks. Hawkins says, thoughts on an Angels main Rays mini on DK? I hate having to answer questions like this. I don't mean any. I appreciate the super chat. My answer is basically the same. You can kind of justify every single question you would ever ask like that in baseball. It's just a different sport.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. Looking at the top stacks tool, we have the Angels going a little bit under owned, so that looks pretty good. Adrian Martinez in Oakland. Martinez has been fine in the majors so far. The park's not good for hitting, but the Angels are getting quite a bit less ownership than the Dodgers. They're getting a little bit less than the Yankees. We have them 3rd in top stack percentage. Tampa Bay is a team that I was certainly getting to this morning. Good matchup against Hill. Getting outside of Tropicana, going into Fenway is nice. So, I like both of those teams, and ownership doesn't seem particularly problematic on either one. The Rays are getting some, but yeah, I don't have any issues there. But to your point, like you could have named pretty much any two teams and it would have been like, yeah, cool, that works. Like obviously if you had said like Arizona or Detroit or something, it would come with the caveat of like you are taking a really low probability team, but
yeah.
It's baseball and everybody. The thing with baseball is like everybody gets the same opportunities. It's not, you can throw out basketball plays and it's just like, no, that's an absolutely awful play because aside from 2 or 3 people getting hurt, he's not going to play enough minutes. Baseball, You're going to hit 3, 4, 5 times. And some guys are obviously more likely to hit home runs than others, but they're all capable of, or almost all capable of it.
Right.
So it's just sort of, they're fine. It's really hard to come up with like a baseball play that is bad.
Yeah, like if you look at it, Nats are 27% to win, Diamondbacks are 32, Tigers are 32, Rockies are 25. Even if we want to just be like aggressively generic, the expectation is like at least one of those teams wins today's game, and I would assume the expectation for runs, one of those teams puts up 7+, 6+, something like that at a pretty high rate. You can justify any of those things. He did follow up. He said, I guess I meant from an ownership perspective, it's not too chalky, right? I mean,
no, not at all.
Again,
right
in
now,
that question, though, it depends who you're choosing.
Well, yeah, but even if you just assume you're taking like the best players, I think you're probably fine. Like right now, we have the Dodgers pulling 18% ownership, so simply not being on the Dodgers is going to be somewhat contrarian. You have ownership going to Milwaukee, you have ownership going to the Yankees. I wouldn't be concerned about the ownership there.
No, the main stack is the Angels, and they don't have enough ownership coming in for ownership in general to be all that big of a problem. So it wouldn't be something that I would be sweating there. Let's open this up a little bit more. Let's talk about stacks. You touched on the Dodgers a second ago. They are projected to be our number one stack. They are our number one owned stack. I'm still getting to them even at this ownership. I think they're still viable. I love the upside. I love the matchup. The run total is massively higher than any other team on the slate. The park's great for it. I get the ownership for the Dodgers.
Yeah, so do I. I was coming in quite a bit below them this morning. Obviously, that could change with more, with lineups coming out once I rerun stuff. But I do think it's a good spot against Urania. He's just not particularly good. He has done a good job limiting expected power this year, though, which is surprising. 136 expected ISO to lefties, 177 to righties. Doesn't get strikeouts, and obviously the Dodgers are just capable of hitting home runs against pretty much anybody. But I do think they're going a bit overowned. And one thing that I think did push them down a little bit for me this morning, like I was still getting there, just not close to the field, is that I do like popular pitching. And so I think it's going to be kind of difficult for me to get like, 2 of the pitchers I like plus 5-man Dodger stacks. I know in the 150 lineups, if this slate had started at noon, the 150 lineups I would have played, I had like 4 5-man Dodger stacks. And then I was mixing in Dodgers a little bit, but not too much. But I think that's the biggest thing that kind of holds it back for me is that I'm on popular pitching, and so it's going to make it kind of difficult.
Obviously, you're gonna get to a bunch of Dodgers bats from a cash perspective. That's just you're gonna get 3, 4, or 5 of these guys pretty clearly, I think. So I don't have too much else to add there. Who do you see as some other primary stacks for you? I'll just lead off and say I've got the other part of Hawkins' question. I love the Rays today, but who do you see as your, let's just say, second favorite stack?
Yeah, I'm getting to quite a bit of Tampa. I think if Stephen Leibowitz pointed out in chat, and he's right, it is fit in the 50s with the wind blowing in Boston. So, typically you do prefer getting outside of Tropicana going into Fenway. This isn't quite as ideal as it normally would be, but it still looks like a pretty decent spot against Hill. You have a very cheap Vidal Brujan leading off with multi-position eligibility at 2,300. Second base, outfield, so second base a relatively weak position typically. Arozarena is good. Franco takes care of the shortstop position. You have MPE at cleanup with Harold Ramirez at a cheap price tag. You have a catcher hitting 6th and Christian Bethancourt, which is nice. So I think it's just a team that offers some salary savings. They offer some flexibility. They're going to be really easy to make lineups around, whether it's as a 5-man, a 3-man, a 2-man, whatever you want to do. You're going to be able to find guys from Tampa Bay that fit in pretty nicely. I was getting to quite a bit of San Diego this morning, which I'm never upset about. It's not an ideal spot. You're getting the Bravia opener followed by Jelly, I believe. But, you have anytime you have Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Cronenworth, there is no Manny Machado in the lineup. So that probably drives my ownership down a little bit, or my exposure, I should say, down a little bit. Getting to Seattle, getting to some Milwaukee.
Okay. Yeah, when I look at the Rays, that's the team I'm getting to most. I talked about it a bit on the strategy show this morning, but Rich Hill prone to give up some righty power. This park plays up a ton of righty power. The Rays lineup is all righties. Like all of those things seem to be just sort of driving me towards, from a narrative perspective, driving me to a little bit more Rays, which I do like. Okay, so you mentioned the Mariners. Not a team that I'm getting to all that much, but clearly a matchup against Brian Garcia looks good, but generally don't love that park, and apparently the Mariners are tanking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the park, but I don't think it's just not as much of an issue to me this time of year because so many parks, the weather is 50, 60 degrees, especially now when you have I'm assuming this is still the remnants of the hurricane on the East Coast. The sun hasn't been out in like 3 days, so I assume that's what it's from. It's 50 degrees in Boston. Like, is that really that much worse than Seattle?
I don't have an answer to that.
Like, I mean,
my answer is yes in my head, but I don't actually know if that's true.
I think Seattle is certainly worse, but like it's not in the summer when it's 75 degrees in Seattle and you're playing in like a really spacious park and it's 90 degrees and humid in Fenway. There's a massive gap there. When it's 50 degrees in Fenway with the wind blowing in, it's probably still better for hitters than Seattle, but it's a lot closer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Who's the other team that you mentioned?
Milwaukee.
Yeah, talk to me about Milwaukee here. Taking on the Diamondbacks, pretty good spot. The park plays up for power on both sides. They are pulling a little bit of ownership, though. They are second in aggregate ownership. We have them 7th in top stack, 8th in top value. You think you're still going to be there?
I think the value helps. You have Mike Brosseau leading off at third base. He's only 2,300. There's only 2 guys in the lineup north of 5K with Adames and Yelich. It's a good spot against Henry. I do think maybe the ownership pushes me away a little bit when I rerun everything, but I do just like the combination of value and upside that you get from them in this spot.
Do you see any stacks that you think are, I don't want to say sneaky, but like something that nobody's really getting to that you think would be one of those stands that you take where, they're 3% owned, but you get to 8 type teams?
I was actually getting to a good amount of Texas, which kind of surprised me.
I have 6%, 7% of my 5-man, so I see where you're going there.
Yeah, I was at around 7% Texas as well. Not a matchup I really like, but Severino has had some issues with left-handed bats this year, and you do have a pretty good amount of them in this Texas lineup. Only a 19% strikeout percentage for Severino, 152 expected ISO, 204 actual. Not pitching in Yankee Stadium where lefties do a lot of damage, but still just not getting a lot of strikeouts there. And then now having to deal with Corey Seager, Nate Lowe, Jonah Heim, Cole Calhoun. Josh Smith is left-handed with MPE. I don't consider him in the same category as those other hitters, but it's just a left-handed heavy lineup, and then the righties are obviously good with Semmy and Garcia and Josh Young. So and Bubba Thompson just steals anytime he gets on base. So I just think it's a high upside spot, even if it's not going to come through all that often.
Any teams that are pulling more ownership than they should be that you're pretty clearly going to get away from?
I mean, I think the Dodgers, but we already talked about that one.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a spot where you'd be like, quote unquote, happy to get away from them. They are good.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing, I mentioned the ownership. Also, they're just not cheap. Like Milwaukee's getting ownership and I'm still getting there, but they're cheap. So I can build like, really high upside lineups top to bottom. With the Dodgers, I think you have to give up a little bit more. And they're getting, even more ownership as well. Not getting, or at least I wasn't getting as much Minnesota as the field. I don't mind that. They're not pulling a ton of ownership anyway, but there is some value in that lineup, so you'll probably see some ownership there. Cueto is just sort of an average pitcher. There's not the Dodgers are the one that really stands out as far as a team that is getting a lot of ownership that I wasn't getting to.
I guess I don't really know the best way to talk about this, but how are you going to approach the Orioles, the Blue Jays, the Mets, the Nats? I mean, we're talking about 2 of the 11 games on this slate that may or may not play, may or may not go deep. How do you anticipate building there over the next hour?
I mean, hopefully we get some sort of an update. I probably am going to stay away from the Mets game. That one looks really bad. The Orioles game it seems bad too, based on everything I'm seeing. I just almost feel like I'm biased because I'm looking out my window and I'm like, it's not even raining. So it's hard for me to just click the button to not play that game. I
did get a bit of Blue Jays, but that should be no surprise.
What'd you say?
I did get a bit of Blue Jays, so like I am mildly interested in that game. Clearly, we could just cross off the Nats. They're not all that interesting.
Yeah, I actually was getting more Baltimore than Toronto.
Okay.
Which, like, I'm fine if this game plays. I like the fact that there's plenty of left-handed power in the Orioles lineup that can take advantage of Barrios. But
do you want Barrios to still be in your player pool, or even on the opposite side for the Mets for Carrasco? How would you handle the pitching?
If the slate started right now with the information I have, I would just remove the Mets game.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I would do with the Baltimore game. Fortunately, these are two of the first games. The Orioles game starts at 7:05. The Mets game starts at 7:10. So I assume we'll have some sort of information on like they're starting in a delay, they're not starting in a delay. We should, I think, have a little bit more information by then.
Okay. We would be looking at like 12-13% aggregate ownership to hitting for those two games if they just sort of went away. So make some adjustments mentally for where that would go. From a pitching perspective, Carrasco is projected for about 16% ownership. Barrios on the opposite side for the Blue Jays game, projected for about 12%. Just for anybody that's interested there. If you're trying to just simply save yourself in the best possible way, that could be the way to get away from it. Just pull Barrios, pull Carrasco, and cross your fingers and hope those games die. Anything else we should touch on from a stacks perspective?
I don't really think so.
Okay. Well, then let's keep it going. Let's talk a little bit about Prize Picks, presenting sponsor of this show. And if you make a deposit at Prize Picks using the link in the description of this video, you'll get up to $100 on that first deposit. You do not need an optimizer. You're just picking player props, over-unders. You can net up to 10x your entry fee when you do that. If you can get 5 of them right. We'll bounce a couple of these off of Adam for right now. We got some time here. Let's hit him with Aaron Nola, over under 37.5.
Under.
Interesting. Okay. I got him at 30.6. To me, snap under. What about Brandon Woodruff at 45.5?
Sorry, I was double checking the Yankees lineup. You said how many?
45.5.
Under.
Yeah, I would also take the under there. Let's see. We'll go to the hitters now. Who would be a good... We'll go to Baltimore. Even though this one's probably not going to play, we'll go to Baltimore. Over under 6.5 for ya boy, Adley Rutschman.
You said 6.5?
Yes. I have him on 6.5 on the dot.
Yeah, we have him at 7. I guess I would go over.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else that I think would be interesting as a prop before we get away from it all? We'll take George's super chat quick instead of hitting on another Prize Picks prop. So thank you guys, and thank you Prize Picks for being the sponsor. Thoughts on the Yankees main stack versus Martin Perez? Seems Martin is a decent pitcher. Sorry if I missed your information. I mean, it's the Yankees. I'm generally happy to get there. I have them quite a bit lower in top stack than we do. So I am not getting to the Yankees, but I don't have anything like negative to say other than it's not like my favorite spot in the world, but still very viable.
That's pretty much where I'm at too. Like I mentioned them in the tournament plays video because we have them second in top stack percentage. I'm personally not as high on them. I do think Martin Perez is a solid pitcher. 3.74 xFIP this year, half a home run per 9 innings. You also don't have Gleyber Torres in this lineup, so it's a bit weaker than normal. Judge clearly is great. Stanton's got a ton of power. You have LeMahieu and Donaldson. But after that, I mean, Peraza, Hicks, Kiner-Falefa, Higashioka, Gonzalez. That's leaving, quite a bit. You don't have Anthony Rizzo. You don't have Torres. You don't have, I think, somebody else. There's no Cabrera. But I don't even think that's who I was thinking of. It seems like there's one other guy missing that's normally there. But either way, it's a good pitcher in Perez, or good enough pitcher in Perez. It's a bit of a watered down lineup. I'm not that high on them, but at the same time, it is still Judge, Stanton, and others.
All righty. Well, let's talk. Judge, Stanton, LeMahieu, Donaldson, Peraza, Hicks, Kiner-Falefa, Higashioka, Gonzalez, and then obviously Severino is the pitcher. Where did my Twitter go? There it is. All right, let's talk position by position now. Get sort of this is the guy that looks the best at catcher, your cash option, favorite GPP options. We're just going to kind of pick and choose where we want to go. We're going to start at catcher. Catcher seems pretty easy to me. Seems like Will Smith is going to be the guy that's your primary option as a cash play. If you need a alternative to pay down, maybe Christian Bethancourt, I don't know. What do you see here at catcher from a cash perspective?
So I'm working on that right now, but I agree with you. Like with all the ownership going to the Dodgers, obviously that's a good spot if you can get up to him. I do think Bethancourt hitting 6th is pretty appealing as well. I would think those are probably the two guys.
Okay. Do you see anybody at catcher that you would find to be like a solid one-off option? Francisco Mejia is a guy that I'm getting a lot of, and he's pulling no ownership, but I don't really have anybody that I think that when I look at it, I'm just like, well, that's a guy I want.
I don't know.
Bethancourt and Will Smith are splitting my ownership at catcher when I run a cash crunch. Just FYI.
Langoliers is showing up with the Stokastic projections.
Okay. Get 2,500. I could see it.
Yeah, so
I have Logan O'Hoppe. Logan O'Hoppe. I don't know.
Yeah, O'Hoppe.
Yeah, that's a fun name. 2,300. He would be my preferred pay down option if I had to get to one.
Yeah, he's showing up 3rd. So in the Stokastic projections, it's pretty much Langoliers, Smith, and then it's Langoliers, big gap to Smith, and then another big gap to O'Hoppe.
Okay. Let's try first baseman now. This one's going to be a little bit easier to talk about, I think, just because we kind of know what we want here. Highest owned first baseman is Freddie Freeman at 5,600. He showed up in 93% of my cash crunch. Seems like Freddie Freeman's going to be that guy.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman showing up in over half of the top crunches using Stokastic projections.
I got a little bit more of Harold Ramirez as well, but I think that's just going to be an outfield thing. But he is the other guy pulling double digits of ownership, as is Shohei Ohtani. But it seems like Freddie Freeman is going to be that guy. I don't have anybody that I immediately see that I'm like massively over the field on as an individual one-off. Do you have any other first baseman you would want to highlight today?
I don't think so.
Okay. Next up, we'll go to the second baseman for today. It's always weird to see like first base, second base eligibility. It just always feels so wildly incorrect. I got Vidal Brujan in everything here. 2,300, pulling 18% ownership. Nick Gordon is pulling 19% ownership at 3K. To me, that seems like another very obvious option. Gavin Lux, another option at 3,600. What would you be doing at second base? Seems like paying down is the spot today.
Yeah, it seems that way. Gordon's showing up a ton. He's hitting 3rd. He's only 3K. It's an okay spot against Cueto. Yeah, he's in most of the top lineups using the Stokastic projections. Paying down there, it allows you to get up to Freeman. It's going to allow you to get up to like Trey Turner, Aaron Judge. So I think it's a pretty good spot to pay down. After him, Jordan Diaz showing up quite a bit as well. Again, just basically punting the spot. It's not that you really like Diaz against Sandoval. It's just that you like the salary and don't like the pay up options at second base pretty much.
Yeah. All right. Keep it moving then. We'll head to short. This one's going to be another relatively easy one to talk through. When I ran my crunch for shortstops, Trey Turner, 86% of the cash crunch. He is the highest owned individual shortstop at 19%. He's also the most expensive shortstop at 19%. Willie Adames and Francisco Lindor, the only other two guys in double digits for ownership. This one seems pretty cut and dry that it's Trey Turner.
Yep, agreed. Next highest showing up was JP Crawford, who's not in the lineup, so I don't know why he's still showing up. But yeah, Turner clearly is the guy.
Based on ownership, I assume he's still in the lineup. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I love Wander Franco here at 4,900, 6% owned. That's the guy that I'm getting to the most over the field.
Yeah, I agree. He looks good.
And he's just good in general, so there's also that.
I have the same player pool from earlier.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right, let's go to the third baseman now for today. And when I ran my crunch, Mike Brousseau was in all 100 of the lineups that were generated. Max Muncy's in 18%. Justin Turner's an 11%. Mike Brousseau, though, 2,300, 15% owned. Seems like paying down is the way to go, or you're getting to max Muncy and you're able to pay up somehow.
Yeah. So now Bethencourt, I just want to go back. Catcher Bethencourt showing up a lot now that I fixed the player pool.
Okay.
And yeah, Mike Brousseau is in every single lineup.
There we go. Yep. He hit full 100 for me as well. Now we'll close it out with outfielders. A little bit more difficult to talk about just because there's just 3 times as many outfield as there are at every other position. So the pool ends up looking a little bit bigger. Guys that showed up a ton for me in my crunch. Brujan at 100%. Obviously, we talked about that. Mookie Betts was in 95% of mine. I assume that's going to be pretty close to a lock for most people. Trace Thompson showing up a bunch for me. That's going to be more of a value option. And then the rest of it gets pretty scattered for me. So what do you see from an outfield perspective?
Yeah, so Aaron Judge, obviously just going to be in there in cash lineups. Brujan at 2,300, I think is going to be in there. And then the final spot is just sort of whatever fits. Tyrone Taylor is actually showing up quite a bit. He's batting 9th, which sucks, but he is only 2,200. So, he's another guy where using him allows you to get Judge plus Turner plus Freeman plus the pitching that you want, which is pretty nice. Jared Kelnick at 2,300, I think is another reasonable option there. I think I personally would actually rather go to Kelnick than Taylor just because he is hitting 3 spots higher in the order. And, a decent matchup for him as well. Looks like punting the third outfield spot quite a bit, though, whether that's Taylor or Kelnick or Scherer hitting 9th for Tampa Bay. Those guys are all showing up quite a bit. Mookie Betts showing up in around the third of the top projected lineups. Kind of tough to get there just because you have Aaron Judge taking up a pay-up spot in the outfield as well. It looks like if you're going to get to Betts, you're probably playing Brujan at second base instead of Gordon. So, instead of playing both of them.
Do we have Judge ahead of Betts?
I would assume so because Betts is in every single lineup. Judge is in every single lineup.
Because I have Betts by a bit, actually, which I'm not surprised by either.
I will not. I'm refreshing projections right now. We have Judge as the highest projected hitter.
What do we have him at?
11.6.
Jesus. I'm in a slightly different projection for Aaron Judge today. I have Betts at 10-3. I don't have Judge in double digits.
As of this morning, I had Judge at 10-2 and I had Betts at 10.
Okay. I have Judge so much lower than that I don't even want to say it out loud.
You know who Aaron Judge is, right?
I'm very aware of who Aaron Judge is.
So, 2001, you would just be on the show, I don't know, this Bonds guy, I think he's going to get 6 fantasy points.
I mean, Perez projects well from a run prevention perspective. He's not in some sort of crazy park.
I know.
What do you think I have Judge projected for?
What'd you say?
What do you think I have him projected for?
8.8.
Dude.
What?
On the dot. I swear to God. Go further. What's the next decimal point?
6.
Flat 0. 8.8 on the dot. I don't like the way that happened. Do you have my FC login? That's the only way you can know that. I don't like the way that just happened. But yeah, I would be getting to Betts in that scenario over Judge. I don't really think there's a right answer between the two. I'm guessing that's close to a coin flip for most either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's close. Like I said, I had Judge by 0.2 of a point. That's kind of the same.
Yeah, there's a $600 gap between the two. So at that point in time, those 0.2 might as well be the same. And then for cash options, just to clear it up, who did you get as the 2 primary cash options? For me, it was Woodruff and then a coin flip between Sandoval and Kirby, actually.
It was Woodruff 1, Musgrove clear 2, Sandoval 3.
Interesting. Okay. I have Kirby projected slightly ahead of Musgrove. I do have both of those guys ahead of Sandoval. I think saving some of that salary was what had me going down to Sandoval.
Yeah, so I was going to say...
I don't think there's a real answer between Kirby, Musgrove, Sandoval. Do you?
I personally do have Kirby ahead of Musgrove, at least right now, also. So
Okay.
for me personally, Kirby would be my number 2. I'm
Okay.
using the Stokastic projections as Musgrove, which is perfectly fine.
This would be a spot where if you saw someone with any one of those 3 guys, you're not really like paying it any mind, right?
Yeah, the only like everybody should have Woodruff in cash. I think that's the clear consensus. Like,
yeah,
we're getting to him, and then it's just whichever of Musgrove, Kirby, Sandoval you get to, I think is fine. Again, the Stokastic projections lean Musgrove. I personally lean Kirby. I think that any of those are completely reasonable.
Okay, yeah. Because I know, so like there are times where we talk about it on these shows, and it's just like, look, this is the answer. If this person doesn't have it, like, try to remember that this guy played your head-to-heads, but that's not the case for today. Those guys are pretty interchangeable.
Like, you're gonna have 4. I mean, you're gonna have 2 of Woodruff, Musgrove, Sandoval, Kirby.
Yep, we're on the same page there. Anything else you think we should talk about from an individual position perspective?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I do want to touch on one quick thing. If you are in the state of Ohio, be listening to this. If you're not, you probably don't care about what I'm about to say, but it will be interesting for you if you're in a state eventually, because we're going to get these kind of deals. Sports betting is coming to the state of Ohio. If you register for a FanDuel Sportsbook account right now by clicking the link in the description of the video, you will get up to $100 in free bets. Now, you're not going to be able to make those bets just yet. I believe it's starting January 1st. Don't quote me on that, but it is coming, and you can get the jump start on FanDuel right now. So go do that, everybody. I don't live in Ohio, so this one doesn't help me at all. All right, we have, we'll call it like 8 minutes or so before we're going to get out of here. So chat, if you've got any questions, this is the perfect opportunity for it. If you're in our premium Discord right now, that will also work. So drop a question in for myself, for Adam, because we've got some time right now. And if you want to know what we think, today's the day. Hawkins sent in another super chat that said, if you're in the state of Ohio, I'm sorry.
That's fair.
I agree. I don't think I've ever been in Ohio. I've
driven through. I've probably stopped like for food or something.
Maybe once when I went to Pittsburgh, I just like ended up in a bit of Eastern Ohio, but even then,
the driving from Maryland to St. Louis, you go through Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in the state, which is pretty commonplace when you live in Eastern PA. That is a haul to get across the state. And it's not like, oh, I really needed some Cincinnati chili or something.
Right. Yeah. The drive from Maryland to St. Louis is just like you kind of cut through that little corner of PA, and then you catch like the bottom, I guess, probably of Ohio.
Yeah.
Like through Indiana.
Yeah, you're not there all that long.
No. You drive like right by Columbus.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine ending up in Ohio. I would need tickets to something, Cavs game maybe.
Yeah. I don't know when it was or if it's still happening or whatever, but they were doing the NFL draft in Cleveland, and it was because like my friends and I decided to start going to the NFL draft because it was Nashville and then Vegas, and then I think it was supposed to be like Cleveland or Green Bay or something, and we were just like, yeah, so we'll do Nashville, Vegas, and then we'll figure out where we're going instead of Cleveland.
Yeah. We'll go back to Vegas again.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Black Mane, I'm going to go with Black Mane, like Sadio Mane, wants to know favorite bats.
Aaron Judge.
I mean, the guys that I'm most exposed to: Will Smith, Francisco Mejia, Wander Franco, Jose Siri, Mookie Betts.
Those all seem reasonable to me. Siri is kind of interesting since he's hitting 9th, but 2,100, I get it.
Yeah. The Rays are my most exposed stacks too, so like it's just he's coming along for the ride. Also going to follow up on Black Manny. Mane, I'll go with. I don't know why I said Manny. That's just even worse. Do you like the Ravens as much as the O's, Adam? He does not like the Ravens at all.
No. Orioles fan and then DC Sports.
David Johnson wants to know, for a one-off, Sheets or Tyrone Taylor on DraftKings?
I mean, Taylor was showing up better in projections. I like the upside that Sheets offers. I like that he's hitting 5th, 2,500 against Ober, who has had some power issues. I think in tournaments, I would prefer to go Sheets if I can.
Okay. Let's see. I have Sheets at 6 fantasy points. I have Taylor at 5.8. So give me Sheets. Sheets less owned as well. So yeah, give me Sheets. What else we got coming in here? Not a lot. Prediction for the Rams 49ers game. I bet you it plays.
I was going to say, if you had asked me who was playing tonight, I could not have told you.
I didn't remember that it was Rams Niners.
The only reason I knew it was the Niners was because of the notifications about Tevin Coleman being called up.
I did 2 videos on it earlier today. So Black Mane wants weather reports. Good luck.
Still not raining in Baltimore for whatever that's worth. It seems like it might be raining like off in the distance, but it's not raining where I'm at.
Not going to be fun trying to guess what happens for Toronto, Baltimore, Washington, and the Mets moving forward. But I think Washington and the Mets look a little bit worse than Toronto and Baltimore.
Yeah, I'll say the Mets-Washington game, I feel, at least with what I've seen most recently, relatively comfortable just not going to it. It's the Orioles game that concerns me because at 6,200, I have interest in Barrios. I like the Orioles bats a bit against him on the other side. Obviously, the Blue Jays are good. I'm still pretty unsure what I'm doing with the Baltimore game. I'm pretty comfortable that I'm just not playing the Mets game.
Larry C wants to know if I'm going to be doing an FC video before NBA starts. I will not be. I don't know if anybody will be, though. Derek Lohman's scared of Woodruff for tonight. I mean, Adam and I think he is the pretty clear-cut best pitching option today. So can he get blown up? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the matchup against Arizona. They're a team that I haven't really liked picking on all that much, but you kind of have to take what you're given. And like, what pitchers, like, it comes up a lot where it's like, oh, the top pitcher, like, I'm nervous he's going to get hit. Like, yeah, it happens because it's baseball, and Arizona's not a horrible offense either, but it's not like the Giants are a horrible offense against Musgrove. The Tigers are an actively horrible offense against Kirby. But Sandoval against Oakland, like, they're not good, but they have a bunch of right-handed bats that could conceivably do damage. Like, there shouldn't ever be a pitcher that you point to and say, like, oh, I would be absolutely shocked if he gives up runs.
Yeah. All right, we got 2 final questions. They're both coming from Discord. First one. Top 2 low-owned stacks you would use with the Dodgers on DraftKings for tournaments.
Oh, cool. So this was actually, as we were talking through the show, I was like, this is going to end up screwing me up. We nerfed ownership, it looks like, on both of those games, so that's good.
Okay, cool.
And I noticed because I started to say the Mets getting 1% ownership, but not the Mets. So low-owned stacks to pair with the Dodgers. I don't know. I'm not really on like super low on teams. I guess Texas.
I mean, there's a lot of parts of the Rays bats that are sub 10%.
Yeah, I was thinking I probably, well, again, like I said, I'm just not playing a lot of the Dodgers, at least as of this morning. But Texas is a low owned team that I actually have interest in and was getting to. Yeah, most of the teams that I'm interested in are getting at least some ownership.
Yeah.
The Angels are low enough. I think you could play them.
Yeah, Trout at 8%, but if you're already on the Dodgers, that's probably pretty expensive to begin with.
Right, that's true.
And then Jets World wanted to know, do you think the Mariners will push Rodriguez to steal more to give him more of a push for Rookie of the Year? No.
No, I don't.
No. That will not matter at all.
I mean, like, even thinking it through, like, logically, I would be absolutely shocked if the Mariners care more about trying to get Rodriguez Rookie of the Year, which, like, 1 stolen base or 2 stolen bases, whatever you're talking about, it's not going to matter anyway. If you're voting for him, you're voting for him. If you're voting for Rutschman, you're voting for Rutschman. Yep. It's not going to be like, oh, he stole that bag on October 3rd.
He would need 20 over the next 3 days.
Yeah, and more importantly, I'm pretty sure the Mariners want him healthy for the postseason.
Absolutely. Alrighty, so we're gonna get out of here. Them get prepped for you. You good?
Was that on my end, or what? You just started like echoing really bad?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear me echoing. So echo. NFL Deeper Dive coming up next. We're gonna have 2 straight hours of NFL coverage, taking you up until lock for Monday Night Football. Thank you to Prize Picks for being the presenting sponsor. For Adam, I'm Josh. We're out of here. Peace.